This is a call-out post to all 80s kids. I hate you. You guys are some of the greediest and most evil people I've ever met. Wow, I'm so glad you guys had way better stuff than we did growing up, and that all 2000 kids are braided morons who were forced to watch mindless trash, while you sit high and mighty on your mountains of seemingly perfect media. And you have caused such ripple that every movie, game, show, and toy has to kowtow down to you, and include pre-little references to the 80s and so cool retroness. Remember the 80s? Remember bright pink clothes and Back to the Future, and Africa by Toto, and Jolt Cola? So now every new series has to take place in the 80s and 90s, and every franchise from the 80s will never die. He-Man will rot away in toy shelves for all of eternity. Meanwhile, I'm a struggling 2000s kid. If I want a pleasure, grim, or courage, I gotta sacrifice a child's Nickelback to get it! And the biggest thing I hate about you punks? I can't argue against you. As someone who watched a lot of reviews of people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I've seen them talk about how great the media that released in it was, and eventually deciding to check out the movies and games and cartoons that I wasn't alive for, only to be like, yeah, they're kind of hard. The biggest thing that stuck out to me? It's scary. Like, 2000s kid media is pretty freaky too, but nothing is as messed up as 80s horror. Helps that PG-13 didn't exist yet. And the thing that really stuck to me, not only was it scary, it can be funny. No 4 films showed me that better. The 80s kids are kind of right, though the 2000s had better cartoons and games and early movies overall, then the film is blending horror and comedy while still being somewhat aimed at kids. To me, this holy quadrinity was Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, and Little Shop of Horrors. 4 really fun, really funny, and really unique movies, all with great effects, a fricked up green thing, and spawning a long-running franchise still getting stuff to this day. Besides Little Shop. And I want to discuss all 4 for a very long time, so frick it, I can vaguely have them together here. Let's talk about them all. Not only am I doing that, I'm discussing the whole franchise for all their sequels, their cartoons. That's where the list ends. I'm not going to buy billions of games and comics and books for this video, frick you. So the risk of summoning anyone, I'll say this only once. Turn off all the lights and grab something to eat if it's not after midnight. Lay up your stick and don't give any of your blood to an evil talking plant alien who are looking over the darkest 80s comedies have to offer. So I'm doing these in release order, but there is one little problem with that. June 8th, 1984 was a really good time for 80s horror comedies. Yeah, so Gremlins and Ghostbusters released on that day, so there's no really easy way to decide who starts this off. Of the two, people are obviously more interested in my thoughts on Gremlins, and Ghostbusters would be like half a video, so let's figure stuff after midnight first. For obvious reasons, Gremlins is a film that means a lot to me. Probably the first horror film I've watched. I've been scared by media before. Usually when I was scared of something, I wanted nothing to do with it. And surprisingly, the Gremlins scared me. Particularly the one on the Christmas tree. The thing is, I actually like reptiles in the color green, so I really like these. I didn't want to shut the TV off. I want to see more of these creatures. And they've become part of my life. Especially the leader, Stripe. Huh, I think I like that name. The story is really simple. A father gets his kid a Christmas gift, so this is a Christmas movie and you're dumb for saying otherwise, going to this ambiguously racist stereotype, which is also kind of required to be referenced in all things, who explains that this creature is a horrific monster you should never take. Like, money is money. So I know the rules of the Gremlins. I kind of have to, I am one. And an inkling. Human is debatable. Something I see people complain about all the time is, oh, why is Don't Feed After Midnight a rule? What's after midnight? And like, guys, that's the joke. The film is, in effect, a parody of horror films at the time. What makes it great is that it also works as a genuine piece of horror, while also being really funny at the same time. Something that replicated was Scream and Foggy's Basics. It's kind of silly that the big threat is these goofy, idiotic creatures the size of a cat, whose message plan is just simply to cause chaos and sing songs and drink and gamble. But their genuinely creepy appearance, large numbers, unpredictability, and bloodlust make them credible threats. They're really fun villains, but super entertaining ones too. Again, especially Stripe. I freak hardcore with that guy for some reason. The film has so many scenes that live rent free in my mind. The intro, of course, the scene of them all partying, the few but memorable kills. Actually, yeah, for a horror film, one credit was making the PG-13 rating, alongside Temple of Doom. The few human kills aren't super bloody, but super memorable. They originally had a few more kills, including the dog, and also saying they had the Gremlins literally eat babies. But to keep the Gremlins more likable, they were scrapped. Most of the kills being more unlikable characters. The film balances humor and horror super well, or you completely forget the other part is supposed to be there at points. The horrific story Kate tells of the worst Christmas of her life is genuinely super creepy. But then, remember 3 minutes ago, the Gremlin fetches his new batch of people, so like, okay, I can't keep dancing around it. Stripe is so cool. I love that once he gets enough Gremlins, he just sits back and lets the chaos happen. He just loves watching the chaos and death his spawns cause. And when everyone but him gets killed, he's pissed and will come back even stronger. God, he's so cool. Someone make a YouTube channel in his honor. Like, dude, he himself left to get more treats for his boys as they watched Snow White, and tore apart the theater and threw food and killed each other. So now we're screening the Minecraft movie. Oh frick, I haven't mentioned Gizmo yet, have I? Well, yeah, Gizmo was cool. Very cute design that's perfect for sucking little kids to think this would be a cute family film. And not one where they kill Santa Claus and blow up a dude, and then again, flashing gremlin. But he's a very simple character who helps unite the human cast with a very cute design, and I just love his voice and singing. Dude, yeah, I see how this is the film that gave me my name. It's funny, it's scary, it's cute, it's quotable. I adore the theme song. It will play at my wedding and funeral. It made me realize I jump every time the word stripe is said. I keep forgetting I don't own that word. It's Gremlins, baby. It's fantastic. Also, Jonathan Bank appeared in this, so I'm glad to see a birth to Mike Ehrmantraut. Gremlins 2 is a much simpler film than the original. Still one of my absolute favorites, but I do lean towards the first. The old man who sold it then later took back Gizmo dies. Gizmo would be taken by scientists. Billy can't find him, but unfortunately, there's a new batch of gremlins that were summoned. While the original was pretty evenly split between comedy and horror, this is almost exclusively comedy, poking more for explicit fun of horror tropes, culture at the time, and even the first movie. When it does well, it does well. It's really funny, but also, they push the already great animatronics super far. Instead of just the standard looking gremlins of the first one, there's now really cool looking ones like the Bat Gremlin, which can also fly. The Electric Gremlin that can do electric stuff. I didn't think about this fully when writing of the script. There's the Vegetable Gremlin. Is eating him vegan? The leader of this is not the really cool gremlin with a really cool name. That's also a really common word that I can use as a name without people realizing I'm a cringy nerd. It's Mohawk, who's actually Stripe? Yeah, it's weird, but apparently Mohawk is a revived Stripe. He's not intelligent as Stripe, nor does he care much about his brethren, and he just hates Gizmo. Same! Honestly, there's a plot here, but it's mostly just gags. And they're good gags, like the Brain Gremlin. I love he just kind of randomly appears and he's just a bad guy now. He's really funny. He shot a guy that one time. That was cool. I do think the other gremlins are kind of wasted. Like, I like the idea of there being a good gremlin, who's of course only women. I feel like I see a lot of people saying this is their hear me out. Comic book guy said in Simpsons. True, I'm just gonna let you guys sit on that. But they really don't do much with her. Kinda wish she was more important. Same with the other gremlins who are less evil and just more really stupid. Merch makes them like Gizmo's friends, but they're really not that important. But also this is a dude where Gizmo dresses as Rambo to kill a giant spider. And as an arachnophobe, you did a great duty. Yeah, this film is just full of great moments. Brain Gremlin's monologue, the jokey version of Kate's rant, Hulk Hogan's cameo with a fourth wall break, actual real-life film critic who hates the movie cameo who gets bullied by the gremlins. It's so much fun, dog. Do I prefer the first? Yeah. But this is still a banger, and part of the quintessential Stripe watch-through list. Please God, make a third film. So I'm sure some people thought there was a Gremlins show, but I can't. I never can. I've been waiting for this for 4 years! The show has been constantly pushed back for years and years, and then just kind of released. Like, I keep hearing people joking that this would never come out. And it came out, I didn't even know about it until a month later. 80's kids, this is your fault. But hey, How the Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai, the show I definitely said the name of prior. Shut up, I'm great at this. Sam Wing, the old man from the movie, very shockingly enough, wasn't always old. He was at one time a kid, where he and his family get involved with an evil sorcerer, along with Sam finding a little creature, Gizmo, and wanted to return him to his home, along with the help of his mystical grandpa, voiced by Mr. Pig himself, James Hong, who's a great voice actor, by the way, but like, wow, this guy typecasted hard. And in the mix, unsurprisingly, there's some gremlin shenanigans, like Brain Gremlin at home, or a female gremlin that isn't designed to be hot. What's even the point? The show is honestly pretty fun. It's a more child-friendly than the films, but still gets a few good scares. The CGI is stylized in a very fun way, rare in TV animation, and my god is it good to see more gremlin stuff over 2 decades after the new batch. The villain is super fun. An evil sorcerer guy, which, okay, I'm not as into adding all this mystical stuff to this series. I think it was mostly grounded normal Earth, but gremlins, but this is like several decades before the movie. Most of the mythical stuff faded in that time. That's fine. Plus he's a very intimidating villain with weird mix of green eyes and mystical dark magic and Solvor and Matthew Reeves, and he's Emperor Bellos. But he's funny, so that's fine. The main thing everyone's after is this magic knife that controls reality and was created by the goddesses and can destroy the planet. Gizmo has access to it. This man is a planet buster. The big thing about this is they finally address the don't feed after midnight bit. It's actually don't feed them when the moon is at the highest point in the sky, but it's been simplified over the eons. Honestly, a cute way to address the flaws people have, but I think the original way is much more mysterious and funnier. So, don't hate it at least. Second season, now named Wild Batch, is about Stan and Gizmo now living in New York and slowly putting up pieces that'll lead to the movie. Still, the Gremlins bull stupid, but it's fun because it's my bull stupid. Yeah, the show isn't exactly what I wanted from new Gremlin stuff, but it's a really enjoyable show, whether you like the films or not. There's no magic in this show, so there's really no rules. If we somehow get a season 3, please bring my son back. Also have me voice him. No one will get it besides me. And that's the best kind of joke. There will never be another Ghostbusters. This will be the longest statement here, with far and away the most media. Have an equal amount of movies to other 3 combined. Every part of this film is put together with glue sticks and determination, but somehow looks like it was handcrafted by the finest sculptures of the Renaissance. The film was super rushed, as you can tell by a lot of the effects being shoddy upon rewatches. Like, I think every shot of Safehouse has a mistake. It had to be rewritten several times, including shoehorning in Winston, and pretty much the entire cast wanted Bill Murray dead. But this film still stands as one of the big comedy pillars, and I don't see a reputation following anytime soon. It kind of reflects the film itself. The Ghostbusters are this hyper-competent team of action heroes who can handle anything. There are two nerds, a sleazebag, and a common dude who are stumbling through trying to make some cash. They're not the Men in Black, they're plumbers. They cause more damage than the ghosts. They're in it more for the money and science than genuine altruism. The film literally starts with Peter rigging an experiment in only the third worst thing Bill Murray's done. But it's so funny, so who cares? The more cartoony or darker parts of the series may make you think this is a really slapsticky or genuinely horrific. Besides the Slimer scene, it's mostly all about dialogue, or how the team kind of really don't know what they're doing. It's definitely scary when it wants to be, with stuff like the library ghost jump scare or Gozer, but it's almost like out of place. It's mostly a goofy romp with no real threats. Then Satan appears. It's like throwing Mr. Bean into Silent Hill. Someone please do that. Shout out to Gozer shocking all Ghostbusters, and for some reason she just kind of kicks 3 of them down the stairs. But Winston, frick that dude, you him on top of a pillar. It's little things about this film that make it special. Egon singing with Peter how much they should get paid. The completely deadpan way everyone speaks even in these situations. Them awkwardly stumbling through the commercial. Notably Egon looking down at his lines is someone Harold Ramis actually did. They kept it in because it just felt so Egon. Like actually I think half of this film is improvised and it's better for it. Besides being a staple of horror for kids and the rest of the franchise being more aimed at kids, very pretty clearly is not for children. Smoking, strong language, so many sexual innuendos. Like, I think this is the first time I've seen sex on screen was when Rhaegar was blown by a ghost. It disgusted me as a kid, and scared me more than Gozer ever did. Dan Aykroyd made me asexual. Actually, yeah. My parents let me watch this as a kid, but Jimmy Neutron was too much. Like, do I really need to break this film down? The theme song lives in the minds of everyone as a genuine bop. Like, the entire movie is quotable and instantly recognizable. They make Walter Peck such an unbelievably hateable little man, despite him being 100% right, let's be real. Has it aged? Sure. But overall, it's a classic for a reason. Busting will always make you feel good, as long as our green snot monster and Casper letting himself go. Ghostbusters 2 has to be the most movie to ever exist. Like, it used to be a punching bag. It's credited as killing the franchise.
Who are you gonna call?
Go! The number you have dialed has been lame since 1989.
But as the years go by, I don't really see anyone who hates it. But also, I don't really see anyone who's defending it or quoting it. It just kind of floats out there randomly in a constant state of being a movie. The film is a lot wackier than the first, being aimed more directly to kids by removing a lot of the swearing and smoking, having a lot less scares, and generally being a lot more lighthearted. The thing is, the thing that made the original so great isn't really the action. It's a bond between the cast and how natural it is. Without the very natural sounding dialogue, it's not as fun. Like, especially with Egon. It just doesn't seem himself. He's a lot more energetic, not in a natural way. Egon's their favorite Ghostbuster, by the way. I probably should have said that earlier. The reason the kids liked it was because it was so edgy and adult. Removing that really makes it less appealing to children. The film starts with the Ghostbusters being shown as old news and no one cares about them. But like, the film came out only 5 years after the original. The cartoon was still going on. I'm sure it was still popular. It's not like Force Awakens or Muppets 2011, where a lot of time passes between them and the last film, including a major shakeup on the ownership. Like, it feels like they're just starting the film by saying, yeah, your favorite characters suck. One singular ghost encounter is able to completely get everyone to change their mind. Was there really no ghost between Gozer and now? In that time, Dana had a baby. It's never said who the father was, but like, we all know it's Peter, right? Even the director said decades later, yeah, it's probably Peter. The main problem is that the walls are starting to ooze pink slime, and I can like feel emotion thanks to an evil painting. Why is there so much focus on slime, yet Slimer is barely a factor? Why is Tupper Custer the main threat when the last time there was an otherworldly god? Vigo is really funny. He's a painting of a really pissed old guy. Like, he has some interesting powers, but it's really just at best a worse Gozer. And he has a Mario 64 head, and I just cannot take it seriously. Okay, I'm being really negative on this film, but like, I still like it. It has some really good set pieces, some fun lines. This joke is really dumb, gets me every single time.
Ray.
Egon. Also, there's the kidnapping scene. Is this the funniest thing ever, the scariest thing ever, or the dumbest thing ever? I can't decide. I'm just glad Winston has more than 3 lines this time. Like, I still really do enjoy it, even if objectively it's pretty busted. This is a reference to Phineas and Ferb. Sam is credited as playing himself. Are we not in favor of rehiring him after recent tweets? but I know Hollywood does not truly care. So are you able to talk about this film without being shot now? So, the 2016 Ghostbusters film. Apparently the most controversial film of all time. Cannibal Holocaust had full-on assault and animal cruelty, but that was never stupid as low as having women in it. The entire year build-up to this film was absolutely insane. Your thoughts in this film would dictate who you are as a human. Are you sexist, nostalgia blind, racist? Apparently your thoughts on a family movie is an 80s film will dictate that. This is the most divisive and hostile conversation you would have in 2016. And that was an election year! Then the film came out, and it kind of passed. It's been almost a decade, so I don't remember entirely how everything went down. The reviews are fairly average, box office is fairly average. This freaking sucks! I was hitting fire and brimstone and cats and dogs living together, but we got nothing! Okay, let's do something no one's ever done with this film. Discuss it after watching it. It's alright. Like, yeah, I can't say I love it, but I'd say it's around the same quality as Ghostbusters 2. Maybe lacking a bit of the cheesy charm of that, but it's definitely not something that warranted bullying the angry video game nerd into refusing to review it, or threatening death upon all women because they decided to reboot a franchise that wasn't relevant for decades. The worst part of this film is that it's just a generous swap version of the original movie. That's not me complaining about female Ghostbusters. Cartoons have already done this, and it was cool. The plot is very much nearly beat for beat, just a weaker version of the original. Three people make a ghost hunting business. They're joined by a secretary and a working class individual. They have one big job. They're constantly dismissed and scoffed at by the town, and later they need to fight a powerful ghost who becomes a giant white monster. Again, never top the first film, so do something different. And when it does something different, honestly, it's enjoyable. The main four are all pretty clear analogs for the original four, but they take them in completely different ways. Particularly Julian, the Egon equivalent. Well, obviously I like Egon more. I like that they have their big science nerd instead be really energetic and open instead of just doing Egon again. Also, I like that they have a lot more cartooning with this one. The ghosts are a lot weirder and more out there, similar to the cartoon. Even if the CGI is 2000 Scooby-Doo movie level, it's pretty fun. Same with the tech. In addition to the proton pack, they can now punch ghosts and have full-on ghost guns. That's really fun. The plot is basically the original but worse, but the film does have a lot of things that are really cool. It has a lot of stuff that's really lame. The nods to the original are hit and miss. Bill Murray's cameo is genuinely kind of insulting to both him and the original film. Do you have to cast the main character of the original as a grouchy hater? Ernie Hudson and Stoney Reaver's cameos certainly happened. Dan Aykroyd's cameo was actually pretty decent, besides a phone reference to the theme song. They did a lot actually, and all of them are really eye-roll worthy. But Simon's cameo as an insane, rowdy, chaotic, neutral troublemaker, that was fun. His best role since the original. Harold Ramis unfortunately passed before this came out, but bust of him can be seen in the movie, which is a very respectful way to honor him. I like that. The villain sucks. I didn't think you would get lamer than Vigo. This guy's a sniveling nerd who's neither scary or funny. Okay, him possessing the secretary gets some decent moments. That's just because Chris Hemsworth is kind of the GOAT. Actually, I'm really mixed on Kevin. He's consistently the funniest part, but also, like, he's an idiot. That's his role. Okay, I guess I gotta discuss the whole feminism angle. Obviously nothing wrong with a piece of media focusing on girl power. I'm a proud She-Ra fan, and I get it. Guys are the worst. But I feel like to have a really good feminist piece of media, you have to have at least one notable male character who isn't a jerk or an idiot. And yeah, this didn't pass the test. Overall, I can respect Ghostbusters 2016. It has some cool ideas. All the actors are doing a great job, besides Bill Murray. Any second I'm expecting him to fall asleep. It's an enjoyable film in a vacuum. But my god, is everything outside of the vacuum a headache, depending on how old you were when this came out. Ghostbusters Afterlife has an extremely split audience for what I've seen. Some really liked it. I feel like it was a true return to form for the franchise. While others saw it as nothing but nostalgia pandering that tried way too hard to appeal to the toxic side of the fan base who hated the 2016 film. For the most part, I really liked it. But I have a few problems. Some big, some small. The film is about a family where their grandfather recently died, and they're hanging in an abandoned house they inherit from their late grandfather, with the kids teaming up with another kid, and their teacher to uncover the mystery the grandfather left and start fighting the ghosts that start popping up. I think this is a really solid way to introduce the series to those unfamiliar with it, while not being too similar to the original. The new ghosts are all super fun. The film overall has a pretty fun feel, being like a lighter Stranger Things. Makes sense since one of the kids is from that, and the other kid is a feeling content creator. Finally! Representation I can relate to! One really dumb thing though, no one believes in the Ghostbusters. The first two films canonically happened, but no one thinks that one time a bunch of guys stopped an ancient god, became a marshmallow mascot, and summoned a giant storm, and all the other stuff was real. There's maybe like a dozen people on Earth that believe that happened. I know people on Earth are stupid enough to not believe in historical events like a moon landing, or they think the Earth is flat, but that's a small amount of people. This is basically the entire population of humanity. I don't know, I feel like there should be a few people that should be like, hey, remember that time in the 80s, a bunch of ghosts appeared, and probably killed a lot of people, and Satan became the Michelin Man? Remember the time the painting fought the Statue of Liberty? That was weird. Besides that, the film was mostly pretty fun. There's just a full scene of a bunch of Stay Puffs killing each other. I like that. Most of the callbacks are pretty understated and not too in your face. Most of them.
Don't we get a phone call?
Sure you do.
The villain? Dude, I forgot he existed. It's J.K. Simmons. If I forgot he was in a movie, you know that's bad. He's a fanatic worshiper of Gozer who wants to bring her back. And then he does show, and Gozer kills him. It is cool he's named after the villain from the game, but my god, is this guy forgettable. Oh yeah, people probably want me to discuss the game. Haven't played it. I watched the cutscenes though. Yes, this is pretty cool. Got most of the cast back. The rating's pretty in line with the original. Mainly the voice by Flying Dutchman. It's good! The big thing about this movie though, the ending. Gozer gets revived. It's a pretty fun fight. All Ghostbusters come to help and it's fun. It's still the new team who does the final blow. So it's not solely fan service. But the crew gets hope from beyond the grave. Egon's ghost. Okay, I get why I did this, but this isn't Flash CGIing a million cameos of people alive and dead without their permission bad, but like, it's close. Feels very disrespectful, but that's just me. Yeah, I like this film overall. Not phenomenal, but it's solid. At least tries to be different for the most part. Also, again, the Stay Puft slaughter scene. You can't get cannibalism in most other parts of the series. When it comes to other Ghostbusters films, you can at least say they're memorable. People talk about those films. Despite coming out last year, I've never heard anyone talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I mean, Afterlife at least had the appeal of being a big return to form. This is kind of a sequel to that. For a franchise that only existed via the power of nostalgia, there's not much to build off of. This has a new ghost come who's an ancient demon that has ice powers, who's attempting to freeze the world. We don't meet them until an hour and 30 minutes into this hour and 50-minute movie. This film is stuffed with a bunch of characters. Not much of anything notable or really fun bits or story. They're all just kind of there. Seeing Walter Peck back was a big shock since the actor's life was basically ruined by this. He's reported several times people would constantly stop him in the streets and call him ridiculous. Even once a bus full of people. Seeing him again is a pleasant surprise. But I can't say that's enough to save an otherwise mid-movie. Final fight is fun, but it's like the only standout action in the film. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and call it bad, but easily the worst of the Ghostbusters movies. And a sign that the franchise itself is probably better off dead and busted. But hey, maybe the cartoons have a better chance. 80's cartoons have a specific vibe. Very cheesy, usually not animated the best, but really charming and wacky. 80's cartoons have easily among the most iconic characters in animation, even if they're not usually super fleshed out. What most coming down to, there's a group of good guys, there's a funny group of bad guys, buy our merch. While they're really fun shows, I can't recommend seeking out a majority of 80's cartoons outside of a few episodes or moments. They really haven't aged the best if you're not a kid in the 80s with a bowl of cereal and your parents every week in the background. The more modern takes on these franchises are almost always better. With that said, there's one 80's cartoon that, while hitting on the tropes of the others, is actually still pretty good by today's standards. And that's the real Ghostbusters. With most of the show being released before the sequel, the real Ghostbusters looks at the team taking on various new foes, alongside their more snarky secretary, who occasionally joining on the action Janine, and Slimer, who's a good guy now and their mascot. So the most obvious thing is the design of the cast. Obviously they couldn't get the rights to the likeness of the actors, so they changed them a bit. Honestly, Winston, Janine, Lewis, and Walter Peck look fairly accurate at coming out style. Egon looks mostly the same besides being blonde with a Josuke cut. But I can't be the only one who keeps mistaking Ray and Peter for each other, right? Like, this is Ray and this is Peter. It should be reversed, right? Oh yeah, and Dana just isn't in this. The whole bit with her is either how much Peter wants to bang her, or her and Lewis have rock dog sex. Honestly, for the best. While Ghost of the original Stan Slimer are usually pretty human in nature and can easily be pictured as a real person, this started the more out there monsters they had to fight. But for a kids cartoon, that's a good thing. They fight monsters from all across mythology, Cthulhu, Ghost of Christmas, this moment that screams everything he says. The spirit of Halloween, the boogeyman, Satan, but I guess it's exactly the Spectre Gadget. This is a fun episode, actually. Since the demon was summoned by a guy who just really hates chickens and summons the demon to remove them from existence. The entire underworld now making fun of him to the point where he brings the Ghostbusters in just to reset the problem. Also, dude, Teddo still has man's whole fit. The writers have come out and said they really wanted to really make this show good. Something for kids, but also for people who like the movie. And they succeeded. It's genuinely funny. Not in the cheating and tongue-in-cheek way, like actually really good. The characters are actually fully developed characters that can describe more than 10 words each. A rarity for this era. I don't want to kill Slimer. And the cast is perfect. Obviously no one returned for this film, but they still really perfectly capture the same energy of the original actors. The standout is Lorenzo music, perfectly capturing Bill Murray's laid-back, nonchalant swagger. I would like to mention that Lorenzo is best known for Garfield, who Bill Murray would later verse in the live-action film. The Real Ghostbusters was a fantastic cartoon. Until it wasn't. New writers came in around halfway through, completely fumbling the show and making it even worse than your average 80's cartoon. Any of the fun creative writing was thrown away, leaving only Slimer. He's all we have left. Why is Slimer even the kid appeal character? Look at this! It was like, yeah, kids would love this. I liked Slimer a lot in the original seasons. He was cute, and he was actually pretty funny. But he was a bit player, a scene or two per episode. Now, he's the main star. The entire world revolves around Slimer. The show is literally renamed Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. Later, just fully Slimer. And my god, does he get insufferable. They recasted Peter and Janine. Well, Janine is fine. I prefer the original voice, but she's fine. Peter's is so bad. He just has none of the charisma of music. I don't hear Beckman. I hear the actor. The ghosts start becoming lamer. There's a period of TMNT. I just feel like the writers are screaming, "Our show is better! Our show is better! Our show is better!" Kind of something like a Simpsons knockoff, but only in appearance. They look like the Simpsons, but named after and act more like the family from Married with Children, who only have 2 kids, so there's no Maggie. And the dog's nothing like Santa's little helper. In the most fitting way this phrase has ever been used, this show is now a ghost of its former self. Everything that made it so great is now gone. The first 2 seasons, though, they're great. It's still an easy cartoon to recommend to anyone who likes the original movie, as it is truly the real Ghostbusters. Oh, if you didn't somehow know, there's an old 70s cartoon named Ghostbusters that was unrelated. After the success of the movie, they immediately tried to cash in on the popularity of the film, the cartoon based on the 70s show, with the crew naming this The Real Ghostbusters to set it apart, as a distant imitator. Brutal. Extreme Ghostbusters is one of those things I just never hear anyone discuss. Like, I genuinely don't believe I ever heard it brought up in a video, casual discussion or anything. It just kind of exists. The show is about the passing of a torch from the original team to the new. If you thought the entire world forgetting about the Ghostbusters saving the world from otherworldly forces twice was dumb, this is still canon to Real Ghostbusters. So they've saved the world like 100 times at this point. And people still don't know who the team is and don't believe they're real. Did the entirety of Earth get amnesia? What's up? Well, the team is ran by Egon, the only member of the group to stick around, alongside Slimer and Janine, who being all but say that Egon and Janine are dating. The new team is fine. They're kind of just the most standard group of 4 teens you'd expect. 2 are jerks, 1 is a girl, the other is basically irrelevant. They're okay. Ghost-wise, it's just kind of fine. They continue to include more mystical entities like Leprechaun and bring back a Jersey Devil, but they're just not as fun as the best of reels. They do bring back a Grundle though. Really the only returning ghost. Sam Han and Nash are in the intro, but they never actually appear in the show. Heck, Stay Puft isn't even in this. Grundle's episode was fun. Probably my favorite episode of how it ties back to the girl's chronic past. The sad thing though is that in real, he's voiced by Roger Bumpus, aka Squidward. And despite not sounding like him, it's funny to me that there's a show where the voice of Squidward plays a character who's basically a child predator. Actually, they've recast a lot of characters. Race the Marsh is still Egon, but Janine and Slimer are recasted. In the final episode, the other members of the gang appear. And they're all voiced by the same people who voiced them in real. Sadly, they didn't get run that music for Venkman. But the weird thing is, in real, Frank Welker voices both Ray and Slimer. While he voices Ray here, he's not Slimer. That's Billy West. Billy also voices one of the Cenobite knockoffs, who would be really scary if he didn't use the exact voice he would use for Zoidberg.
Bid your humanity farewell.
Actually, yeah, that leads very nicely that this is probably the darkest thing in the Ghostbusters lineup. One of the very first episodes, it very seriously discusses anti-Semitism. There's a few deaths. Ghosts are way scarier than their typical Saturday morning cartoon fare of the original. There's some actually pretty graphic body horror stuff. It's not like super intense, but compared to most Ghostbusters material, it's pretty extreme. Ha! Yeah, for most forgotten cartoon, it's pretty decent. Not the best thing I've seen, but I like it. I'd say Real at its peak is better. Let's didn't have a massive fall off at least. But now I can finally throw this franchise in the containment unit. Because, dear Gozer, it's finally done! It could have been its own video, Jesus! It sounds weird to say it loud, but thinking it over, I think Beetlejuice is my favorite live action film. Is it the best? Oh dear God, no! I've seen billions of films that are objectively better at every level. This film has a very special connection that, admittedly for a time, I kind of buried in my mind until it was thrust directly in my face. I first watched this in 2016. About making this video where it just discussed a film with a 1-foot tall theater, a giant spider with a bow and arrow, too depressing. I wasn't exactly in the best place mentally back then. A lot was going on for my 17-year-old brain. Most of it wasn't good. But one day, I decided to finally check out that one Tim Burton film I kept hearing about. I thought if you haven't seen this movie, there's actually a really super strong anti-suicide and pro-continuing on the living message. It actually blindsided me. But also, really helped me through a rough time. I really connected to Linda's plight, and weirdly enough, I would not be here today if it wasn't for this movie. What's with the weirdest character starting with B always saving my life? If you're wondering why Beetlejuice was on my favorite character list, again, I kind of buried his memory for some reason. If you're talking to me in Discord, you'll know he's pretty consistently in my top 15 or so. Usually around number 12. Listen, Saving My Life is pretty great, but Pete is really funny. Okay, but how's the film itself? It's just the perfect Halloween movie. It's a great mix of great humor, almost as he thinks of Beetlejuice himself. Mel Keaton put his all into his role. From the way he moves, to the way he talks, it's like a cartoon brought to life. Brought even more to life with the phenomenal makeup and effects. But to tell you what people who like this Scarverse idea might think, if you like this, please watch this movie, or read the Mask comics, or die, or like these instead. But there's also a lot more to him than just being cartoony. He's a great antagonist. He's really intimidating. The whole universe is weary of him. And he's a Minecraft YouTuber. Okay, actually he's not. There's nothing between him and Lydia. He's marrying her not because he's attracted to her, but because she's the only woman in the area who's not married. And she's just a mean to the end that he'll get past once he's fully in the human world. Going back to the effects, they're phenomenal. The underworld is very vibrant and really full of life. It's great that you can tell exactly how everyone died. Dude, if this is what waits for me, maybe I should die! Wait, no! The practical stop-motion effects for stuff like the Beetlejuice snake or the Sandworm is great too. Admittedly, the maidens are pretty bland in terms of the whole cast. Maybe this is supposed to be contrasted with a more eccentric Beetlejuice and the Weird family, but not many people will say they're their favorite characters in the movie, and the reason the sequel barely mentions them and the cartoon removed them entirely. It's nowhere near enough to get me to even consider disliking the film. It's one of my favorite movies. The most important films to me as a person. Also, enough about Greta. Hit me up when someone admits their sexual awakening was Dante's Inferno with Street Beetlejuice. For the longest time, it seemed like a Beetlejuice sequel was impossible. Tim Burton joked about it several times, like with Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, a proposed joke sequel where he goes to the only place scary within the underworld. But nothing came from it, and years passed. Then Wednesday came out, and Tim Burton realized that he should probably use Jenny Ortega in something that actually respects the source material. And then last year, we finally got Beetlejuice. 30 years after the original, with Maitland's both dead, for reasons definitely not associated with Alec Baldwin being controversial now. But Lydia is still seeing nightmares of Beetlejuice, who's stuck in a low-quality office job, but is dreaming of taking her to the Maitlands. I saw a joke on rap battle. Now with a daughter, Lydia moves back to her old house alongside her stepmom and Lydia's fiance, Rory, as tensions rise between them all, and Beetlejuice tries to return to the living world and avoid his now unleashed evil acts. Overall, I like this movie. Better than the first? Lol. LeMayo even. But it's still a very enjoyable sequel for a film we've been waiting for a sequel to for decades. It's not a retread, which I'm thankful for. They don't make Beetlejuice a good guy like I thought they would. That's appreciated. Instead of a few minor references to a more modern thing like cell phones, this film feels so much like an 80's movie. Easily more than any of the Ghostbusters sequels did. Almost everything is practical effects, as if they used the exact same sets from the original, even using stop motion for several things. How much Tim Burton has almost degraded as a director, I already thought this was going to be fumbled. But I think they knew how much was riding on this, leading to a really enjoyable film that's sadly lacking that heart the original had. Not that it's a soulless film, it's just missing that message that the originals had. Still, it's a great, but kind of stuffed time. There's a lot going on in this film, and not all of it is needed. He's just trying to escape the underworld and get together with Lydia again. That's great. Lydia and her kid, but nice stuff too. But like, do you really need this random ghost boy? Again, he kind of just appears. It only exists to give Jenny Ortega to the ghost world, which like, pretty immediately unceremoniously killed. Though the twist with him, while pretty predictable, was the scariest part of the movie. Dolores though, she could have been cool. I like explaining why Beetlejuice has the ring. She's got cool powers, but my god is she boring. She isn't particularly funny. The entire cast avoids her in the whole movie. When she finally appears, she just kind of disposes of the same time as the fiance. Somehow it ends up being the best of the non-Beetlejuice villains by default. If you want to use her, instead of the ghost boy, she drags Jenny to the underworld. Lydia is forced to team up with Beetlejuice. The film mostly goes normal except for Dolores is now disposed of sooner, but overall has a bigger presence. But the scene of Beetlejuice making everyone think MacArthur Park absolutely slayed me, so it's all forgiven. Yeah, this might not be as good as the original, but still funny. Still really creative. It's still Beetlejuice. It would be mad funny if they just never made another sequel and it titled it this for no reason though. I'm sure that by now, you know the Beetlejuice cartoon. It's arguably as well known as the film. Looking up Beetlejuice, you'll get an equal amount of results for both. The personality for Beetlejuice is usually what most people adapt in fan works. I remember when Multiverse was still alive, most mock-ups used the cartoon version of him instead of the film version, even though, no duh, that was going to be the one that they used. It's a pretty beloved show. There's just one problem. Tell me anything about this show besides that it exists, the design of Beetlejuice and Lydia, and the theme song. I never heard anyone discuss anything about this show. The side cast, the plot, anything. Just that it exists. It's weird. Realize this is over 90 episodes. It's so weird comparing shows of then to now. Like, oh, here's the biggest show of the last decade. It has like 2 seasons and 40 episodes, but it's still getting fan art to this date. Everyone loves it. It's more beloved. And here's some random cartoon you've never heard of from like 3 decades ago. No one talks about it. No one really discusses it. You've never seen a single actual video from this, never just a screenshot. It has like 90 episodes, a TV movie, and like 50 seasons. So it's just something new, shall we? Actually discuss the show. Taking place in an alternate universe, this man is Beetlejuice and his wacky best friend Lydia, a mostly average kid who still goes to school and interacts with her parents. Except, you know, ghosts. Beetlejuice here is a lot nicer, having personality similar to the genie from Aladdin. But this actually came first. He's still a trickster though, whose powers rely heavily on puns. It's really fun. Well, obviously a lot lighter than the film Juice. He's a really fun take. His friendship with Lydia is really cute. Her parents return even if it's mostly just on the side. I don't know much about the wacky stuff going on. The Maylands are just completely absent. While there's some other characters in the human world like the snobby alpha girl and her cronies, the real fun is exploring more the Neither world. Not just a generic monster world, rather than being a resting place for obvious reasons. There's an insane race car, Beetlejuice's family, police a massive bum who needs a job, evil clown, Gossamer and Yosemite Sam's love child, Tenna. Plots are pretty simple for an 80s show. Usually monster of the week stuff, or Lydia having a problem Beetlejuice makes worse. But their dynamic is so fun, and this show is so creative with how they interpret these characters. I love the gorgeous look of the show, among the most vibrant and creative 80s cartoons. It's a really fun show. I think my favorite episode is the Wonderful Life parody. It's a really fun episode that seems like it's doing the generic obvious subversion of, oh, the world is better without Beetlejuice actually. But it actually double subverts it in that Lydia's life is the only one who's worse without Beetlejuice. And that's enough for him to keep living, for lack of a better word, on. It's really sweet. I also like the episode where Beetlejuice fights constellations. This is strong and sweet throughout media. Let's use this to explain why he beats Mask, when the whole connection is live action cartoons. Let's use actual cartoons to debate this. Yeah, great. This match sucks! What's not sweet is that Lydia calls Beetlejuice BJ throughout the entire show. Even my mind isn't that innocent, guys. This is a rare example of a cartoon that gets better each season. And it started ABC, with some fun but typical episodes, but swapping over to Fox Kids, which has way looser rules, allowed it to focus way more on Beetlejuice and the Neither world, being a lot more creative and funny. Maybe not like world changing. This is a really fun cartoon. And if you're a fan of the movie, say its name 3 times, give it a watch. JK, you can't summon it that easily. This cartoon is like impossible to track down. But hey, we have the intro and their designs, that's all we need, don't we? We don't need to dive deeper. I'm gonna kill you 80s kids! So like I said, I'm only looking over the cartoons and the sequels for all of these, but for Beetlejuice specifically, there was just one thing that I feel like I kind of had to discuss. Let's look at the Beetlejuice musical. So I wasn't actually going to include this, because I never actually saw this live because broke. But hey, someone's uploaded the full play to Internet Archive, so I can discuss it. The play is mostly based on the original film. Some bits from the cartoon, like how Beetlejuice acts. Main plot is the same, Maitlands die, a new family moves into their house. One of the family members is Lydia, who's going through stuff. And Beetlejuice is there to fully enter the real world. This time, he's much more active in the plot, being the definitive main character here, as he's always on screen. This time, directly interacting with the Maitlands and observing them. I admittedly have not seen many Broadway musicals because, again, poor. But this is really good. Every song is a banger. My favorites being the whole being dead thing and Say My Name. Both have very fun, fast-paced energy, despite being about murder and suicide. The recording I found had the original cast, and I've captured these characters greatly. Standard, of course, being Alec Brightman as Beetlejuice, the best take on a character besides Keaton. It's so good, Keaton voiced Beetlejuice in 2 Titans Go. It's when you know you're at the top. Beetlejuice is a lot more overtly cartoony here. He breaks the fourth wall all the time, and they actually work his reality warping into this really well, despite the seemingly obvious limitations. He also flirts with Adam in addition to Barbara. It's confirmed that this version of Beetlejuice is Pan. The perverted, sleazy dead guy is somehow better than 90% of the characters I discussed in the Pan Rip video. The set design is great. It perfectly fits the Burden aesthetic while translating it to the stage and making it its own thing. I definitely think the horror of the movie is kind of downplayed and even kind of non-existent. Like the banana boat scene of the original is really funny, but also really unsettling because it's just completely unnatural what's happening here. Here, the actors' natural voices instead of the original song and the dancing are much more natural, so it isn't as funny or scary. But I do keep the stuff with Lydia questioning her life, which I appreciated, on top of her trying to reunite with her dead mother. Overall, yeah, this really captures the fun of the movie with a few minor changes. I don't think it's anywhere near as strong, but it's focused more on a fun experience rather than a strong narrative. And it's very much a fun experience if you're fine with going broke. Shout out to the full song about how bad the Beetlejuice Lydia ship is, that people use to support the ship. You guys should take the whole being dead thing more seriously. Also, shout out to having the Sandworm animatronic appear during the cast show-off. I respect that. Little Shop of Horrors has a very long and storied history besides just the original 80s movie. Yeah, I couldn't get a costume for this one. You're gonna have to deal with this, I'm sorry. Little Shop was originally a 60s movie. but not a musical like the one we all know. It's a decent film, but not as fun as the one we have. It's mostly notable though for having one of the first roles of Jack Nicholson, but it's pretty minor in it. That film later inspired a stage musical, which later led to the topic of today. The film everyone knows is ridiculously fun. Easily the most lighthearted film here. The whole movie has this really nice sing-songy vibe. Even when the songs aren't playing, it's just a nice film to listen to and vibe with. Even if it's got child torture, you know the plot. A loser who works at a failing flower shop finds an alien plant that makes all of his wishes come true if he simply feeds it blood, going from his own to others who fall humans. Except this has some absolute banger songs. Every single one is a classic. They're all songs I could go back to every Halloween. I refuse to leave Secret Halloween unless they play one of these songs. I need to be blasting Dentist while I'm buying my $70 Skippy toilet costume. Favorite song is Mean Green Mother, because fun fact, I refuse to drink water unless it's room temperature. But can you blame me when this is on screen? Audrey 2 is easily among the most impressive puppets ever used in a movie. Maybe just overall, from its towering presence, big, near-realistic mouth, multiple vines, and singing buds. It's ridiculously impressive. It makes sense since this film was directed by Frank Oz of Muppets, Sesame Street, and Yoda fame. Also helped by Audrey 2 being such a fantastic villain. His charm and smoothness perfectly hides his clear distrustfulness. Well, that and he can just apparently control reality. Like, some people look past that he can just affect probability. Like, how does he attract so many people to this random flower shop? Heck, did he suddenly also make Mr. Musnick suddenly go from a supportive boss to a psycho? But who cares? He and his mother brain Captain N voice easily make this film alone, a film I can keep going back to, and is among my favorite villains in any piece of media. The whole cast is great though. It's hard to think any of these characters play any other actor. Like, Steve Martin's Orin only appears for like 10 minutes, but there was a literal pushback from not being nominated for an Oscar. Ellen Greene, kind of ironic name there, perfectly nails the innocent, awkward, and sweet vibes of Audrey. And returning from Ghostbusters, Rick Moranis captures the nerdy, down-his-luck, gullible but nice loser of Seymour Krelborn. Actually, Bill Murray appears in this too, as a crazy guy at the dentist. I think these two are the only ones who appear more in one of the films I'm discussing. So, I gotta discuss the giant killer elephant in the room, don't I? You know anything about this film is that there's two endings of very different tones. The theatrical ending ends with Seymour standing up to Tui, killing the plant and happily living with Audrey together. Let's consider that he might return. The original ending, though, well, you know horror is in the title, right? For its overall the most lighthearted and silly film here, it ends ridiculously depressingly. Audrey 2 kills Seymour and Audrey, succeeds in fathering tons of spawns of itself, which then take over the world, killing every human on Earth as no one can stop its rampage. This ending was how the original film and musical ended, but test audiences hated it, so it was changed. Frank Oz says that because in a musical, when it ends, all the actors come on screen and bow, and you know they're all fine. That doesn't happen in movies. They're gone for good. So it hits even harder here. I think that might be part of it, but also, Seymour was significantly nicer in this movie than he is in the musical or original film. They are way more jerkish and willing to kill. The play version even dives into Audrey 2's mouth at the end to take him out. It didn't work. I get both sides. I prefer the good ending because I'm a mushy little creature. The original ending does work better with the themes not giving into temptation. Though admittedly, the theatrical ending does give you some hope to those that fumble that you can bounce back. You know, just hope that the temptation you give into isn't Petey Piranha, who will then destroy all of New York. Unless you're me, in which case, after watching all these movies, I'm all for our new Leafy overlords. Why do 3 of these take place in New York? Whether you like the new ending or not, we can all agree that Audrey 2's death looks really bad, right? Like, why is his mouth surrounded by Mountain Dew? Oh, shit! So, you might think this is where the video ends, and the film is only part of the Little Shop horror legacy. Well, for the 80s film at least. But there's actually one more bit. You ever heard of the Little Shop cartoon? The Little Shop is a 1991 cartoon based on the film dropping on the Fox box. This time, Seymour and Audrey are aged down to kids, with Audrey being Mr. Mushnick's daughter. Seymour found Audrey 2, or Audrey Jr. this time, name he had in the original version, in a garbage dump. And the two become friends, with Junior just eating meat instead of blood, and his mind control actually being explained with him being able to plant the seed of an idea into people by spitting pollen at them. Junior's also really protective of plants, being extremely disgusted by salad and books and anything made from his fallen brethren. Audrey is kind of weird here, because Seymour talks about it all the time about how much he loves her, but she's like, barely in it. Probably right out of the show. Shockingly, this is still a musical, and the songs are pretty decent, but nowhere near the movie at all. It's actually funny that Audrey Jr.'s voice actor is the only one who gets a different voice whenever they sing, and he's actually the best singer. This is more thematic than Mass Beetlejuice, unironically. There's also a bully who's a dad's dentist. I kind of wish I just fully made this guy Orin. There's also one episode where the bully gives a son the black eye. How's it that Ghostbusters is the weakest one here? One episode is for Life parody, where like Beetlejuice, they have it where everyone's life is better without Seymour. But unlike Beetlejuice, they play this straight, there's no fun twist. They have another episode where Seymour just yells like this. I like that. I also like that there's this random guy who looks like Jack Nicholson. I thought I'd call back to a 60s film.
I guess a real man can be anything he wants. Even a girl.
I can't believe it. They added woke to Little Shop of Horrors. Overall, kind of your average kids cartoon. I know I said it felt like every other cartoon was destined to last long, but there's an exception to every rule. And a big exception is this. That's the only 13 episodes. Fun little thing to watch and discuss. I can't really recommend it. Yeah, the Earth Planet cartoon isn't high art, but please calm down. I know you can only take so much new information at once. And that was so freaking much. I really these franchises are so deep, people only tend to talk about the original movies. For someone who really adores them, I think it's really cool to dive deeper into these. If I'm going to rank the films, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ghostbusters is like objectively the best of these. My bias led to Beetlejuice and the Gremlins duology beating it. If you want to rank the cartoons, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And of course, if you want to rank the musicals, 1. I can roll my eyes whenever some random 80s film gets another sequel or building a toy line. But like, these franchises are still really super strong. Okay, not Ghostbusters, let it die. But I wouldn't mind more Gremlins or Beetlejuice. Little Shop works better as a standalone, but you already knew that. Yeah, these are all really great films and shows. And the musical. There'll always be some of my go-to watches for a happy, spooky, funny Halloween. So how many times have I said Beetlejuice in this? That's a lot. So do I like summon like Super Beetlejuice? Alright, time to give me some food! I don't have any food. Here's a pinch of a banana, just take this, I guess. Stripe, it's me, the girl you have a crush on. I love you now. Wow, it's really pathetic that I used a PNG of this instead of getting a real girl. Okay, so if your films, you're a ghost, right? Happy Halloween!